Hello, and welcome to the audio commentary for the album Aerial Punk by me, myself, Kelly Betz, celebrating the 3-year anniversary of the release of this album. I'm going to get right into it and press play. For most of these, I feel like coming in, I am like, have all these exciting anecdotes to say, and this time it just is like, oh shit, I have to fess up because I fucked up with this one. Honestly, me and this album are a love-hate relationship. When it came out, I definitely listened to it a lot more than my other stuff. Like, I definitely was like playing it every morning when it came out because I think it has high highs and low lows. The intro is like already flown by. This was the last of me dumping my live material. Like, what happened was for 7 years, I put out only one tape. Like, I put out I Eat Trash, but between, like, before that and after that, it was just all this period of me not releasing anything. So when I finally started making albums, I had all this material that I would do live. I had all these songs written, or, like, almost complete. So this is the last of me, like, getting rid of stuff I already had written, which is why so much of it's so good, because it's been edited over, like, years, you know. Like, this song right here, Reaching, was written in, like, when I was in college. Definitely, I'm gonna say 08. I'm gonna comfortably say I wrote this in 08, and it didn't come out for 8 years after that. So kind of crazy, which is why I perform it so well and I'm so comfortable. But I also say some stuff that I wouldn't have said in 2016. But the funny thing about this is that, like, Pompey and I were both collectively in a dimension. We were living in an alternate reality in which this song had been recorded and was on I Eat Trash. We were both sure of it. So much so that it took 6 years until we realized we hadn't actually recorded or released it. We both had to, like, check the different versions of the album and check the original download link, and, like, nope, it's nowhere. Neither of us had the file. So I was like, I guess I'll record it. It's just a quick little song, but it's a great little number. The interludes and intros and stuff are all Deadbeat. Like, Deadbeat in 09 when we first met, he beat me really bad in a battle. Like, around that time, we were becoming friends, and he just had gone to college for music. And he had all this amazing, like, jazz-based hip-hop music. Some of them more complete than the rest of it, and it just the CD of like 20 tracks turned into pieces of my discography for the next decade. So I consider like a Deadbeat Kelly Betz production, even though Cooper and Pompey did some of the beats too. It really is that. It's the end of me rapping loud over calm, soothing beats. Like, when I made I Eat Trash, it was kind of like, that's what we're gonna do. I yell and I'm hype and I'm tense, and all the tension and explosion comes from me and my voice and my personality, and the beat is kind of like just letting me do that and holding back. Very MF Doom influenced, very Ghostface, very, very Ghostface influenced, and that was kind of like just that point, that tone that I hit, that I thought worked, that I tried to do basically from 2010 until this album in 2016. And after this, it all went out the window, and I don't know what the formula became. The formula became me just not having a formula, obviously, right? It all went out the fucking window. So this song, Purple, was really cool. This was in a really productive time in my life when I was sober. I was still kind of newly sober. I had a roommate who was trying to stay sober, and we just lived with a cat named Science and had our own place, and I was bicycling everywhere, and I had a real job, and I was just focusing a lot on writing. And I think I had my themes down, and I, had that formula. And basically, one evening, I just remember pacing around the apartment and like sitting on the arm of the couch while the cat paced too, because it was a crazy cat, and just kind of writing as fast as I could. And this and Purple unedited is just that writing session, which I don't recommend for anybody. That's not how I do it now. It's a stupid way to do it. If you're willing to have 10 years of addiction and like manic bipolar episodes, and then come out of that and then get your life together and be on this wave where you're like just killing it at life, then sure, maybe some uncensored stuff, Jack Kerouac style, can come out. But if you're not willing to put in the time, don't try it. You have to be really interesting in the first place. Not to like suck my own dick too much, but at that month, I was interesting. But Purple might be my favorite song I've ever done. It just is that fun mix of dropping gems that are super deep, like Death is Easy, Life is Hard, like sayings like that. I teach rap lessons now, and I have teenagers write down their favorite phrases, and then we rhyme them. So it kind of works backwards, like work in what's already in your head. So basically, this song has a lot of that, like, here's just what's going on in my thought process, mixed with just like, I'm a dope MC, I'll cut you lyrically, just bullshit. And so it never goes too far in either direction. It's just me in the pocket. Okay, I started this album and I'm like, oh, I fucking hate, I don't want to do this. And now I'm like, no, I can see why I listen to this. This is good. Great beat, crazy beat. Crazy beat by Cooper in San Fran, who hosted the first No Coast battles ever, and wore a shirt that said Black Licorice, which is really unapologetically bad call for all of us. But yeah, I had this job at like a textbook warehouse, used textbook warehouse, just on a factory line, boxing them up, and I didn't give a fuck, and so I would just like write on my phone and read all day, and like it was just all middle-aged ladies that would be like pissed off at me. I'd be like, whatever, I'd just stand there reading books. And I grabbed some biology book, and it said something weird, like something in the blood, like diseases in the blood. And I was like, oh, what about like demons in my blood? I got demons in my blood. And like, what about like the like biological spiritual existence? Like, what does that look like? What's in my head? What's my brain made of? What's in my lungs? And I went to a really fun place, you know. So I brought that in for the chorus. I definitely just like went on thesaurus.com and looked up words that meant like intermission. So we have interregnum. I don't even know how to pronounce the name of this song. Esoteric on purpose is what it is. Pretentious. So yeah, like this beat and some of these beats are stuff that Pompey would play when he was my DJ for like sound check and just like when I would like rant on stage. He would play these beats, the Deadbeat beats from that collection, starting in like 09. So usually I look at an album as like a slice in time of like, oh, here's what I'm into right now, here's what I found, here's what my friends made this month, this year. This album is not like that. This album is a big amalgamation, and it's just very me. So I think when I play the album, it just makes me think of my whole rap career, as opposed to like just right then. Okay, so the song Scumbags has Jay Walker on the chorus, and I think he recorded it over a phone. I just was like, dude, I've been trying to get him on a song forever. I was like, dude, I just want to hear you on a beat. You have to do this. We get along really well. And to be fair, Jay Walker gets along with everybody. The dude is awesome. But really wanted him on a track, and then Shake had, as far as I know, hadn't been on a track or like anything that was out, so I was like, I gotta get him on here. But desperation may get songs done, but those songs might not always be good if they come from desperation, because Shake and I recorded this in Libby's living room or dining room, like on the table with like this Tascam. We didn't have a pop filter, and their room was super noisy, and I really should not have been okay with it. I don't know why I didn't try to get people into the studio, but I don't know, it probably made sense at the time. I mean, this is how you put out 20 albums in 4 years or whatever I did. Like, this is how you do it, is you sacrifice, and you do things the wrong way. This was the album where I did everything. Now, Sean at Cat, where we are right now, Sean at the old Cat studio, he did like hit record and set the original levels, but that's really it. You know, that was really him just like watching to make sure the microphone wasn't peaking, as I did a lot of these vocals. And he did, same thing, ran the video cameras for me. Because we were recording videos for these songs live as we did the audio, because it was like, well, we're in the TV studio anyway. But anyway, I just was like, I'm not making albums fast enough. I'm paying too much. I'm going to record it. I'm going to mix it. I'm going to do everything. So I'd say it came out 50-50. I'd say there's parts of it that suck that I really regret, like this song. I think it's an amazing song. I think it could have been a banger if it didn't sound like we were in a living room. On the other hand, on Purple, I was able to get really creative with the mixing because there was no time limit. Because I would just be able to sit there for hours, like over dinner, and just like whatever, just geek out. And one technique I ended up doing on Purple that I love. I don't know if anybody else has done this, but if you're watching this, you're a nerd like me. So I'll go ahead and spoil it. It's basically like a reverse echo. So like if I said, "Shut up, man," like I say that in the song. So if it's happening linear, it's like this, and then it goes, "Shut up, man," and then the echo would be like, "Shut up, man, shut up, man." I was like, what if I took a quieter echo and I put it before you hear it? And so it goes like, "Shut up, man, shut up, man, shut up, man." And so it kind of like comes in. And that song, I wanted to sound kind of like a hippie preacher, like a cult leader kind of thing, or like a televangelist. Kind of on a trip, like a lucid televangelist vibe. And I think that worked really well to get that across. And then just the idea of like hearing voices in my head and like what the voices in my head are telling me being the theme, it worked super well. Had that hallucinogenic vibe, dude. Oh man, this little intermission is just so smooth. You know, Deadbeat really ended up focusing on battling. He got a long way, became one of the division champs, and he's, battled international names, Sketch Menace. So it's not like it didn't work out. But man, making music seems to be something that comes in phases for him, and that's a damn shame. Because Deadbeat can do something in a night that most people work on for weeks to perfect. He's got the ear. It's crazy. Alright, speaking of stuff I regret putting on the album, here's something I did at open mics for a long time, which is I took a rap song from South Central Los Angeles rapper and freestylist No Can Do, and I made it like a country folk song. So I think that's a fun thing to do open mics, but I remember I put this on YouTube, and somebody commented, "What is this?" And I was like, fair enough. No, yeah, fair enough. What is this? Like, why would I do this? So I don't think it really has a place on an album. It's me just trying to put albums out, is what that is. I joked that in this era in my life, which lasted a few years, I was just delusional in a good way, though. And it was like I'd finish writing a second song, and second song down, I'd be like, oh, that's basically an album. Fill it in here, fill it in there, I've got an album. And yeah, I don't know. I'm happy I did this, and I've got a big discography under my belt, and I was making up for lost time and telling myself I could do it, and putting out a lot of stuff that I had been unable to put out because of my struggles with addiction. So I'm happy I did it. It was cathartic. I'm proud of it. I go back, I listen, it's great. It's a fun time. However, mistakes were made. Should have drowned more babies, as they call it. Drowned more puppies, Should have trimmed the fat, even if the fat was real good. Should have edited more. Should have censored myself, and I didn't. I might be done with albums. Sitting here, it's been a while, and it just feels like. Weird Al said he was done putting out albums. Said he'd never put out an album again. And if Weird Al says it to keep up with the times, if he's that self-aware, I need to at least keep up with a parody artist who's about to be 60. So I might just be songs from now on. And as of right now, I think it's just going to be all like a band. I'm going to pretend to be a band, and that's the idea that gets me excited about music is having to be a band, because I've just wanted to do that for so long, and I'm capable of it, and I think that anything else is almost a waste. It's like my closest friend and collaborator, Harry Crinline, director of Violence Gives Him Hope and a few other movies, he said to me, he said, you've rapped now. He's like, you can rap, but you've rapped now. We've heard that. because he knows how much I'm limiting myself. And I just remember having like a 4-track cassette recorder and like trying to play drums and bass and guitar and sing and trying to line it up, and it just, my brain not being able to focus in enough and not being able to get it down and just being like, man, if I just had the technology. And now I do. So some people may think that like fulfilling old dreams and visions, like putting out old music I'd recorded, which is what some of this album is. Some people might think that that's like sad, or you should like look to the future. But I think the future and the past and the present are all the same thing. And I think that I'm an idea person, and those are good ideas. And so instead of reinventing the wheel, it's like, let me do best what I was trying to do. And so like my whole career has been me accomplishing what I set out to do a few years ago. And as it moves, I've just closed that gap of kind of like, first got sober, well, let's record the music I wrote right when I started getting addicted, you know? And it's like, and so then it's like closing the gap of like, okay, now I'm completing goals that I set just last month, you know? And if it comes full circle, and me being a one-man band on a cassette recorder and being able to finally do that from when I was 15, if that's where I'm at now, then that's a beautiful thing. You know, I don't know. I can see it both ways, but I'm excited about it. It makes me excited because that young person still exists inside of me, and I can still give him things and be good to him and be happy about how I'm treating him. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we should wake up and eat candy, but I gotta give him some things that he always wanted. Here we fucking go. Dream House is a beat that Cooper sent me, and man, I just had this idea. I think okay, so here's what happened. I write in different cadences. So I don't have I don't have my go-to rap cadence. Each verse I write is in its own like flow, and it's a wave I catch. And I think I texted Pompey or something. I was like nerding out, but I'd written some bars, and I was like, I believe this wave to be infinite. I think if I write about in this topic with this vibe, in this rhyme cadence, I think this one goes on to the horizon. You know, whereas everything else is limited. It's like, okay, I could work this, and then it goes here. You know, this song's about this, and the cadence is... This one I hit, and I was like, oh, I'm just referencing things I'm nostalgic about, and I'm kind of screaming it, and it's kind of non sequitur, and it's just fun stacked multis. And I remember Shake said to me, Shake heard this song, and he said, you should just always rap like this. So it wasn't just me in my own head thinking that this was a good thing. And I basically just wrote until it was time to go into the studio, and I was working a play. I think I was working Shrek the Musical at the Jesse Auditorium on the Zoo campus, and that's a pretty easy gig. You're in a booth by yourself. It's kind of like this. You're in a room by yourself. It's it's well lit, and you have the spotlight, and they do stuff and they adjust this, or they're running a show, so you're waiting for people to come in, and then you run the spotlight for 2 hours, and then you're free again. And it was like whole days of that, of like a lot of sitting around, which is how a lot of entertainment is. And so because of that, I was just on my phone writing these bars, and it's 8 minutes of me yelling nostalgic references in multis. And man, I have had so many ideas about how to get across what all the things I'm talking about are, because there's so many little nuggets. And really, I like that it paints this picture that it's like only I understand everything I reference, but I know that if you are listening to this, you're gonna have a little bit where you go, oh shit, I didn't know anybody else, reference that. I tried to make it references that were very specific.
Stop! When I wrote graffiti, my name was Slop. Watched Fox sitcoms.
I bet that'll be off in the sync. I bet I'll fuck that up. Yeah, it's just a list of references. I love references. I love media. I'm kind of obsessed with media. All I do is watch how music is made and how movies are made and behind the scenes stuff, and read books about rock and roll. It's all I do. Entertainment is like kind of obsessed with it, honestly. Okay. Since this song is 8 minutes, I think this is a good opportunity to talk about like the album concept, like the art and what the name means. So I feel like this is a parody that just totally got lost on everybody, but I'm okay with it. Again, it kind of sucks. I definitely had 2 or 3 people tell me. I would be like, hey, listen to my new album? Because we'd be talking about my music, and they would say, I was going to, but that cover was just too much. Because it's the dogs kissing that Rachel Myers, Pompey's wife, and my friend made for me. She drew it by hand. I have the actual drawing. It's just incredible. But it is a little disturbing to look at. Like, so there's an artist named Ariel Pink. And his whole thing is he's kind of like, I'm an edgy weirdo. And I just think he's really overrated. And I kind of understand he is probably like some kind of creep in real life. And I don't love him. And in my head, I was like, oh, a fun parody of his name, Ariel Pink, is Ariel Punk. And like I'm some kind of punk doing gymnastics, like punk taking risks, right? Or whatever. I don't know. And he had a cover of an EP come out that was a person like kissing a dog. And so I think in my head at the time, when I was like on one, was just like, oh, he thinks he's weird. He's trying to be weird. And so this is him trying to be weird with that. But here's me really being weird. Like what's really weird is like 2 dogs kissing. So it's like, let's double down. Let's like throw it off the fucking cliff. And so that was kind of the concept. And I knew it would get lost on probably everybody, but I didn't care because sometimes that's just how ideas work. Like, you don't have to get the reference point for it to be a thing. Ideas just have to start somewhere. So, I know it seems totally random, but I like that. And I like what it is removed from that context even more. So I regret telling you what I just told you. Oh man, here I am on Dreamhouse talking about the Blue Fugue, Framboise on tap in a dirty glass for $2. It's like, come on, if you were there, that's just so specific and such a fun time. I first tried to demo this at Caper's place, and I got really excited, and I was like yelling it, and he cut me off, and he was like, he was upset with me, and he was like, you should know that you can't just do that. I got neighbors, man. I think we made it like 2 minutes in, and I have that take of it somewhere, but I've never released it because it's me yelling and then getting scolded by another rapper. So I'm sure a lot of you would like to hear that, but that one's not coming out. And now we do a little outro thing. Yeah, I just love, I grew up with the Beastie Boys, and I have like a tattoo of, check your head, Beastie Boys tattoo, and I just love how the Beastie Boys albums were so albumy, like they sounded hosted, and things were kind of coming in from left and right, and music is always referencing different things, but I love it when music is kind of like you're listening to yourself listening to it or something, or like you're like checking in on like what all you get and where all it's coming from. It's not just like, oh, they went into a room and played this. I love being DJ'd at, sound bites and kind of hosted. We love format. I love night talk shows. I love all the nighttime talk shows. Here's the intro host. First they're on the streets, and then here's the intro host, and then he walks out and he does the monologue. Then they sit down. Like, I love the pieces. I love the familiarity. Being in someone else's hands. It's all about control. And, like, good media is all about just, like, being in someone else's hand. Not just tuning in, but being, paddled down that Willy Wonka tunnel, on the creek and going like, wait a minute, who's steering this thing? I love that. I love that feeling. That's it, guys. It's coming to an end. Turns out I did have a few things to say about this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for being a fan. Thanks for staying a fan. This does not feel like 3 years ago. That feels like an excessive amount of time for this to have passed since coming out. And at the same time, it feels like that was a different life. I was definitely living differently at that time. Lots changed. I hope you enjoy the album. It's a good one. It's out on cassette. And that's it. Or just download it for free. 000 when you hit buy digital album on my Bandcamp. It's also on the YouTube here on my YouTube. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and like mind melding in this one-way street type of format that we do here on the videos. I love you guys. Thanks.